In this video, I'm going to be discussing the Replace Area option in Image Extract. Replace Area serves two purposes, and the first is to recover areas that were extracted from a white screen extraction where the artificial intelligence on the select subject does not recognize parts of the object or parts of the people, that is, but it's typically an object and it gets erased because it doesn't see it as part of the subject. The second thing that the replace area is good for is to remove areas of the white screen that did not get erased as part of the extraction. Now, a couple things with replace area. First, it is only for a white screen image. This is not designed to work with green screen or any other type of background. The second thing is that it is not going to recover white objects. This is only going to recover something that's not white. It's actually going to replace the area of the mask with an area that we select. And then instead of using the AI select subject, it's going to replace it based on layer blending that is meant to extract by color instead of by the AI select subject. So I'm just going to first do a quick demo on this image, and then I'm going to discuss more in depth on this image here. So the procedure is pretty simple. There is a layer called Define Touch-Up Area, so you need to select that layer. And then you need to get a paintbrush, and it's best to use a hard brush with hard edges, and just paint over the area that you want to apply this to. Now you can use any color of brush. The color does not matter. I'm using just this bright magenta here so we can see it in the video, but the only thing this is used for is to set the area. And then I'm going to hit replace area here. Oh, too, what you can do is you don't have to be viewing this original image. I am here just so I could see what's being replaced, but normally you don't need to check that on because you can see the area enough to paint over that. In any case, I'm just going to hit replace area here. Now it brings me up a levels. And where I adjust those levels is defining how that mask is going to be for that area. So what you want to do is push the left slider over to the point where the areas that are supposed to be transparent are black. And then the right slider, you push that just to the point where you have everything white that needs to be white. The further you push these closer together, the harder the edges are going to become. Let me try to zoom in so you can see this a little bit better. You see if I push these too close together, see how jagged the edges are? So to maintain a soft edge, you want these as far apart as you can get them, but it depends on the color of your object too. The closer your object is to white, the further to the left you have to push this right slider. Okay, now you see that it's recovered that softball, and if we look at the layer mask, we've got the softball fully recovered. And then, of course, you could do any other touch-ups you wanted to the layer mask. So for this next image, before I get into actually doing the technique, I'm going to actually explain better what this is doing. So this white screen touch-up layer that you don't normally touch when you're doing manual touch-ups, that is what the replace area is going to use. So what is in here? So let me uncheck all these adjustments. It's got the original image. It then desaturates it. So we're looking at just the grayscale version. It then inverts it and then applies a levels. So what this is doing here is extracting just based on color. So the reason why for white screen you need to use an artificial intelligence like select subject instead of just selecting by color Because if you look in this image, like these numbers are white, this football's white, you got white teeth, white eyes, some white on the helmet, some white in the shoes. So if you're just going to extract by color, this is kind of what your mask is going to look like, because you cannot extract the screen and not extract the numbers if you are extracting based on color, because you've got all this white that's always in every image. So what we can do though is, for example, near this helmet, we could take a small area and decide that we're only going to use that small area where we're extracting by color, and we're going to override the artificial intelligence selection because the AI didn't do well in this particular area. We're going to just take a piece of the image and say, okay, now use a color-based extraction or a white-based extraction instead of the artificial intelligence-based extraction, if that makes sense. So what we're going to do, again, is paint over the area. If that didn't make sense, I'll discuss it a little bit more as I'm doing it here, so hopefully it sinks in. But I want to paint over just the areas that we're trying to erase and no more. And the reason why is because you see in this helmet, you've got these this white glare on the face mask. You've got some white up here in the front of the helmet. So any areas I paint over, anything that's white is going to get erased when we do this. So I'm being careful to paint over as little as I can. So once I hit replace area, now I just adjust the mask just as I want it, knowing that it's going to replace that area in the mask with what I'm seeing here. And if it's not perfect, you can touch up your mask after it creates this. I'm going to leave a little area that needs touched up just so I can show you how that would be done. Okay, so you see that little area that needed touched up on the finger is a little bit erased. And also there's a little bit of a fringe there because I had to push those sliders pretty far to the left because the brightness on the hand where I selected was pretty bright. So I pushed those sliders over further than I would have liked to had to, and that kind of affected the edges a little bit. But I'm going to show you how easy you can just touch some of this up. So if I just click on the mask here and click on a white brush, now I'm painting inside the mask. And for those jagged edges, I mean, if you're just going to look at this on an 8x10, you'd probably never see here. But if you were printing this very large and really wanted to clean that up, you could do select mask plus 1 pixel. And then I'm going to actually feather that. Select, modify, feather. Let's go 0.5 pixels. I'm going to Control H to hide this selection. Then I'm going to go into the mask and paint black. So, oops, Control Z, did not mean to do that. What did I do? Oh, did not mean to fill. I'm trying to use the keyboard and talk at the same time and I hit the wrong keys. But nonetheless, we've got our selection back, so I'm going to go in the mask and just paint black. So now you see I'm painting off those hard edges. And those look really nice now. I mean, usually you're not going to be that picky, but just for this video, just showing you that if you really want to, you can go in and fine tune it. And then that area got erased now because we paint back over that because that area was pretty white, and when I did the replace area, it removed those white areas. Because remember when I said that you got to be careful where you're painting over because it's going to erase white areas. Well, some of these areas that were white got erased when I did the replace mask. Anyway, once you do this a few times, you'll get pretty quick at it. I mean, really, I talked for quite a long time, but I could have done that without talking and probably 20 seconds or something. So, I mean, you will get pretty good at this. And if you just look at the before and after, so here is how it was just as it was extracted. And after doing those touch-ups, it's looking pretty good. And if you were to take a lasso tool or another tool and try to manually select all these tiny little areas, I mean, that would take you forever. So this is just a way to use layer blending here in order to create a different type of a mask and to replace an area of the mask. So just in recap, we defined an area. Just so, in case it didn't sink in the first couple of times, what we're doing is we are defining a specific area here. And then once we run it, it's going to take this information from this mask, which is what we are setting by these levels, which these levels are what we're setting when you're doing it, but you're only seeing the area you selected when you run it. But then it's going to take that area and replace your main mask with this new mask, but for just that area. I hope that makes sense. If you don't understand all of the technical stuff, at least hopefully you can kind of follow the instructions to apply this to your image. And I think the more you do it, the more it'll sink in as to actually what it's doing. And then beyond this, there is this Add Area button, which is similar, but it's a little bit different in how it works. So make sure to watch that video. However, the Replace area you'll use a lot more often than this Add Area, because this Add Area is for a more specific situation. Anyways, thanks for watching.